Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, State Senator Joe Hardy joins us, plus on the Power Pundit panel, Amy Tarkanian, Ray Bacon, and Elisa Cafferata. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
All systems check. All right, Sam, let's go check out some D&D roof.
Hey, Ken. From up here, you can really tell the difference a quality D&D roof makes.
You're right, Sam. With our experience, knowledge, and staff, nothing compares to a D&D roof.
Hey, look down there. It's our D&D roofing crew.
I'll bank the plane so we can get a closer look. Sam! You watch your company's bottom line, and I'll cover the top of it.
Nearly 200,000 Nevadans work in retail businesses, supporting families and the community. Nevada's retail businesses generated over $2 billion in sales tax revenue in 1 year, including nearly $700 million to help our schools. Shop around and see all that Nevada's retailers offer our state.
We're the Retail Association of Nevada, representing thousands of Nevada businesses.
Businesses that work for Nevada.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by Republican Senator Joe Hardy of District 12. Pleasure to have you back on the program, sir.
Thanks, Sam. Good to be here.
One of the people I don't always agree with, but I always enjoy my conversations with you. You're a good
Thanks,
man,
Sam.
One of the topics that has already reared its head, and we're going to be having lots of conversations on the program about, is the Death with Dignity bill. Mm-hmm. And when we've talked in the past, you've said that as a doctor, your job is not to be helping people to die, but is helping to cure people. With the Democrats taking power essentially in a supermajority in the Assembly, close to it in the State Senate, how are you going to be able to fare in this session with this bill?
I think realistically, this is not necessarily a partisan issue. I think the concept of when you say the word cure people, I don't know that we cure people, but we certainly care for them. And when we care for them, we believe and we want to alleviate their pain and suffering. So it's not something that we want them to suffer. We want them to have dignity through their life and be able to enjoy their kids and their grandkids. I mean, everybody almost has had a relative that has been dying and has treasured the last moments of those last months and last weeks and last days of the relative being able to share things. I wrote a poem to my mother that I didn't know she was as close to death as she was. We had my wife's father living with us, and the grandkids and great-grandkids got to be with him and see him. Treasured moments, and I would hate to have those treasured moments pass away without having them to be able to share it with their progeny.
So I'll give you the other side of the coin. From my perspective as a type A personality who wishes to exert as much control over life and potentially death as possible, because that's just in my nature and it is in the nature of others, which is that if I were given a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, I would not want to put my family through that. And I would want to be able to end my life in a dignified way by being able to have medication of whatever kind to be able to take so that I could go on the farewell tour and say goodbye to everybody but not go and put my family through the trauma of that horrible death that comes along with Alzheimer's, and not so much the death, but the dying, the part of Alzheimer's that is just inconceivable that anybody would want to go through that. How do you respond to me in person on that?
You know, there's a lot of people who would say the same thing about inconceivable that anybody would want to die, irrespective of what manner it was or what disease it was or what problem it was. So that it's inconceivable that somebody would want to die, except it is conceivable that somebody would want to die. And our job is to make sure that we allow those people to have comfort, to have them have palliative care, to have hospice, to have the ability to be around, to be able to understand that there are other people who love them, who would like them to stay around. I think sometimes we think we're a burden, for instance, on other people, and when we're a burden, are we a burden, or are we doing something that allows someone to serve? Are we allowing someone to love? Are we allowing someone to be with somebody who hadn't been there before? Are we allowing people to be involved with the person who literally is going to die? In fact, I'm a doctor, and I tell my patients, you know, you're gonna die. And they say, well, not today. I said, right. But that's what we prepare for. What is it that we're going to do in our last days? The concept of you're going to die in 6 months, doctors aren't real good at predicting that. And, you know, there are lots and lots of people who say, yeah, I outlived my doctor's prediction by years. So the concept of the bill of 6 months before you die probably is flawed.
Do you buy the argument that the insurance companies are much more likely to settle for, in quotes, death with dignity, rather than paying for an expensive treatment?
I don't know that any insurance company is going to admit that. I think they are, if you look at the concept of a person in Nevada law, a person can be a corporation, and a person can be a person of like you and I. So what is it that a person says, do I want to save money? Do I want to not be a burden? Do I want to not have them be a burden? So it's difficult to divorce your feelings as a company for what is in your best interest as a corporation or as a legitimate person. So I'm not sure I can point to a specific thing myself where insurance companies said you can't have that treatment because it's not going to work in order to be able to allow them to die sooner. I would love to be able to say that, but I don't think I can point to a specific thing. Otherwise, there'd probably be a suit about it by somebody who wasn't allowed to be with their grandpa or their dad or their mom at the last part of life.
Okay, let's take a break. More with Dr. Joe Hardy when we come back.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia.
Yeah. How do you shed some light on a better economy? Start with growth inspired by Valley Electric Association. We're a member-owned power company that puts Nevada first, and we're doing big things, like providing prosperity by securing renewable energy projects. For Nevada, that means more jobs and more opportunities, all for a strong statewide economy. In other words, together, we're doing powerful things. Visit us at vea.coop to learn more.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Dr. Joe Hardy. He's a Republican state senator. One of the bills that you want to bring, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, is a bill to outlaw prostitution. And so my question to you is this. Now, certainly Senator Reid tried to do the same thing, but was blown off by the legislature. Illegal prostitution in Las Vegas is horrendous. And it seems to me that the difference between legal prostitution in the state and illegal prostitution, the illegal is what we should be going after. In fact, as you well know, former Washoe County District Attorney Dick Gamick and former Las Vegas Mayor Oscar Goodman both said that they would be supportive of prostitution under the right circumstances, legal prostitution in both Washoe and Clark counties where it's currently illegal. Do you not see that the bigger problem is the illegal prostitution in Las Vegas and Reno versus the legal prostitution that occurs in the other counties?
I think realistically, when you consider the hashtag #MeToo movement, it has, for lack of a better word that has been well used, it has liberated the concept that women can be empowered for themselves. And so the exploitation that happens with prostitution, it's not just a rosy thing. There are things that are happening to women that shouldn't be happening to women. So even though the prostitution is going on, that woman is many times raped. And we think that it's okay.
But now, I must say to you, legal versus illegal prostitution. Do you believe that women who work in legal brothels in Nevada, because the women themselves, for example, in Lyon County, and we're going to have some of them on the program later this week, will say to you that this is their choice, that they are not coerced into working in brothels, that they make a good living there, they're getting their education at the same time as they're working in these brothels. It is by choice. It is not something that they are being forced into, whereas illegal prostitution constitutes all the things that you're concerned about.
I think it's a pretty blurred line between legal and illegal, quite frankly. I think it still takes advantage of women, puts them in a difficult position, and so it's the choice of the woman, for instance, to make a lot of money, but in order to do that, they have to, for another word, prostitute themselves. And therefore, what is it that I can do personally that I can say there's hope, and you don't have to do that. You can be free, and so one of the things we want to do is allow DETR, Department of Economic Training and Rehabilitation, to have a role in allowing people to come out of that vocation. But that vocation is, there's a lot of things that go on in that vocation that even the woman who is comfortable in making her choice is uncomfortable things happening to her.
But the last point I'll make here is that if we outlaw legal prostitution in the state of Nevada, all it will do is increase illegal prostitution in the state of Nevada. And there is no way that either the Metro in Clark County or the Washoe County Police Services are ever going to be able to control this. So aren't we better to have legal prostitution and put up even better guardrails if that's what's necessary, rather than forcing everybody onto the streets where the dangers are far greater?
One of the words they use in the industry is they talk about out dates. So these ladies in the legal prostitution or the bordello, and that's why the bill I'm doing is to outlaw the bordellos. They do out dates. They go outside. So one of my city planner type people said cake sells cake. So that's why you put a McDonald's by a Burger King, and that's why you put a Taco Bell by any of those things. That's what happens. And so when you have a place that's legal, that place that's legal spills over into the illegal. And I firmly believe that the countenance that we give for legality for the bordello, for instance, increases the amount of illegal prostitution that happens in the state of Nevada. I think Nevada deserves more. I think women in Nevada deserve more. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
All right, let's change topics to a couple of the things that you are very interested in this session. Opioids and Narcan. You brought a prop.
Oh, I did.
Explain.
Yeah. So Narcan is a opioid antagonist. It stops the respiratory depression that you have if you overdose. And overdosing can happen to anybody. So it can happen to somebody who's been used to the same thing. It can happen to somebody who used to be on it, who now uses the same dose. So we have all of these people who are literally dying of overdose. And a Narcan, simple thing, you just hold it like this, and you put it up their nose and you push in the plunger, and then they wake up in 2 to 3 minutes. And at that point, you have about 20, 30 minutes to get that person to the hospital. And when you buy Narcan, it comes in 2. So if you linger too long, you've still got another one to use. And you can buy this without a prescription. You don't have to say why, you don't have to say who it's for. In Nevada, we've made it so you just go up to the counter and do it. And you can get it at a cheap price by using an app like GoodRx, for instance. So you can literally save people's lives. And we heard testimony one of the sessions before where somebody had that happen to them 5 times before they said, I don't want to go through this anymore. So just because somebody's an addict, just because somebody has a substance abuse, doesn't mean you can't help them. And this literally, this simple little thing will save people's lives.
Another bill that you're interested in is helping doctors to come to Nevada with federal incentives along with state incentives. We've got about a minute left. If you can briefly explain that.
Yeah, sure. The feds have a program for $25,000 if the state matches it with $25,000. You put $25,000 together and you get $50,000 to recruit a physician, DO or MD. The physician then, if she goes to a area of need, rural or urban, then they get $50,000 per year for 6 years, which means they get $300,000 tax-free to come to Nevada.
And so this, along with the residency programs that are being offered now, sounds like a really good idea.
Huge.
That's where we got to leave it. Please come back before the end of session. It's always, even though we don't always agree, it's always a pleasure to visit with you.
Sam, I think you agree with me more than you think. Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York. And because I represent men in all family law matters, women often call me gender traitor, woman hater, and even disgusting. So why represent men and target myself with these offensive monikers? It's simple. Children with fathers in their lives are 6 times less likely to drop out of school, 15 times less likely to go to prison, and 5 times less likely to commit suicide. So ladies, you can hate me, but please love your children more than you hate their fathers.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue on with our great Power Pundit panel from our previous show. Elisa Cafferata is here, principal with Cafferata and Company. Ray Bacon, executive director of the Nevada Manufacturers Association, and Amy Tarkanian, former Republican State Party chair. I cut you off. We were having a discussion about the letter that Rick Perry wrote to the Las Vegas Review-Journal explaining that he says that Nevada officials did know about that Department of Energy shipment of nuclear waste to the state of Nevada. Your thoughts?
You mean the letter publicly smacking down our current governor's fake outrage? That one? Yes, that was very embarrassing. There is no way that he was not aware of this. There has been even low-level nuclear fuel for years that was actually approved by Harry Reid long time ago that has been transporting on our highways.
Elisa, you've now had a chance to read
I
this.
have had a chance to read it. The Governor Sandoval responded to this letter saying that it was completely inaccurate, and he and Governor Perry go way back. So, and I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about this issue.
Okay, so I remember years ago talking to Navy officials who said to me, you shouldn't be worrying about the nuclear waste that goes across Nevada. It's pretty safe. It's all glass enclosed pellets. It's nothing that could tip over and catch on fire or anything like that. He said, but you should worry about all the stuff that's coming from Hurlong in northeastern California down to Hawthorne, that there's a ton of stuff that comes through the state of Nevada that is awful that nobody ever talks about.
Yeah, I have a friend who actually is a nuclear waste transportation specialist, and he has pointed out that we do get a lot of different types of waste that are mixed waste, and all of which is to say we should probably have a better idea of what is coming into our state, and so that we can make sure we have plans to deal with it accordingly should there be a mishap. And it's not just things catching on fire spontaneously. There's all kinds of problems, as the freeway being closed on our way in this morning demonstrates. A lot of accidents happen. So the state needs to be able to have a response to what's actually happening.
CBS's Sunday Morning had a piece on the above-ground nuclear tests that were conducted in the state of Nevada over many years. And the test site is the place where all of this occurred, above ground and below ground. Isn't that an obvious place where we, whether permanently or temporarily, we should be storing nuclear waste on behalf of the federal government?
Probably, and in my days in the military, I wound up working at Fort Knox with a gentleman who had led one of the companies that did one of those across the thing charges, and John Young was his name, and John was probably 75 at that stage of the game and still pretty healthy, and he'd been 22 or 23 when he read that charge. So I don't think there's an awful lot of this whole nuclear stuff that we don't know anywhere near as much as we pretend to know.
And when it comes to clean energy, I mean, nuclear power is one of the cleanest forms of energy. Isn't it time for us to restart the conversation in this country and not deal with the 2 or 3 accidents that have happened because of, potentially human stupidity, rather than nuclear power being the some cause?
Well, I'd like to bring up an old conversation. Actually, you mentioned at the very top of the show that I am connected to Danny Tarkanian, and so yes, he's my husband. But in 2009, when he was preparing for the 2010 Senate race, he actually brought up the conversation about turning Yucca Mountain into reprocessing rather than a repository. So then that way it takes care of the scare of actually storing nuclear fuel.
Isn't this an answer to an environmentalist dream of clean energy?
I think, you hit the nail on the head when you said, what about human stupidity, which I think we can pretty much count on as one of the constants through our entire history. And Nevada is a place where you can have solar and wind and geothermal energy. So if you're talking about clean energy and people having a choice, I think that's the best bet for Nevada. The catastrophes keep getting worse. So I think, I don't know that that's really the future.
You missed hydro.
Missed hydro.
Hydro is very important, and we don't use it very well in this state, and could use it much, much better.
There's a bill going through the legislature now dealing with drivers' phones being looked at by the police if they're stopped in an accident. If you want to read more, Bill Densa has a very good column in the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Good idea, bad idea?
I think without a warrant, it's a bad idea.
Amy?
I also think it's a bad idea. If they really want to look at the phone records, they can request them. And you can also, I mean, if you watch Dateline, they talk about, you know, pinging off of towers all the time just to see where people are located. And then once again, you can request the phone records already just to see, you know, how busy they are on their bill. No, I think it's a bad idea.
I mean, this, you know, our phones are no longer our phones. In fact, it's almost the last thing that anybody ever uses a phone for is actually as a phone. It's a computer base of your entire life. I mean, is this a good idea, bad idea to you?
You know, my friends at the ACLU have some serious heartburn with that bill, so I think it's going to be problematic.
Wow. I agree with the ACLU, huh? That's weird.
Sometimes it happens.
This could be a first on this program.
Well, and when you get into a serious accident type situation, typically that person has been arrested, which means the police have custody of the phone. So for it to take the time to get a warrant to go through and do that, I think the time is there, and so consequently it's not a serious issue. They can get there.
So get the warrant, and then you've got to be able to unlock the phone.
Yeah.
And that may be the bigger question.
That, I understand. That may be a challenge.
And that's where we have to leave it. Thank you all very much. Great conversation. We'll be right back.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada. And we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lori Ann, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
On the next broadcast, Republican Assemblywoman Elisa will join us. Plus, you can now subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go and search Nevada Newsmakers and watch all of our shows in full HD. We'll see you on the next broadcast.